will take over the Mubarak regime.
Last week, Hamas arrested anti-Mubarak protesters in Gaza.
They put me in one of the rooms, they closed the door, just me, and they hit me in my head, in my face, and they said we didn't take decision to support this revolution from Gaza.
Then a couple of days later, Hamas changed its mind and decided it would allow people to demonstrate against Mubarak.
Now, Hamas does not want to interfere at this moment and back either side over the other, even though deep in their heart, I know they are happy for the mass protest in Egypt against the Mubarak regime.
Gaza and Egypt are linked not only by a border, but also by a party. Here, Hamas has prevailed, while in Egypt, its founder, the Muslim Brotherhood, may be waiting to do the same. Nicole Johnston, Al Jazeera, Gaza.
Well, it's not only the elite, but the president himself who stands to lose out financially if President Mubarak steps down. Paul Brennan has been investigating Mubarak's family fortunes.
Gamal Mubarak's exclusive London address on a street where the houses cost more than $8 million each. As one of the few known examples of the Mubarak family wealth, this property has been the focus of protesters' anger. But this impressive home is undoubtedly just a hint at the enormous wealth that the Mubarak family and their associates have accumulated over 30 years in power. As well as owning numerous prime locations in Egypt, the president is reported to have substantial properties in Manhattan, London and Beverly Hills. But his trusted political allies have also benefited. Opposition groups in Egypt accuse the ruling NDP of operating a cartel when it comes to lucrative business deals. It's alleged the most lucrative contracts are handed out to a select and exclusive group of politically connected businessmen.
You find a lot of businessmen are actually ministers in Mubarak governments. Mohammed Rashid, he's a minister of trade, for example. Others also, they got prominent position in the government. So they control the governments and they control also the business sector.
For evidence of the close links between politics and business in Egypt, look no further than disgraced tycoon Hisham Talat Mustafa. His father's company, the Talat Mustafa Group, built the San Stefano Grand Plaza in Alexandria and major developments in Sharm el-Sheikh. Hisham himself became a billionaire through various construction and property deals. And until his conviction for murder in 2009, Hisham was also a leading figure in Mubarak's National Democratic Party and a member of the Shura Council, Egypt's upper legislative house. And the company's links to Mubarak's National Democratic Party remain strong. TMG's current chairman is Hisham's brother Tarek, and he also happens to be chairman of the Egyptian Parliament's Housing Committee. The development company Palm Hills is another which seems to have benefited from close political allegiance. It has seen extraordinary growth and huge profits in the last 4 years. The chief executive is Yassin Mansour, the brother of a former government minister. Another executive is related to Ahmed Al-Maghrabi, a former government tourism minister. According to the group Transparency International, Egypt ranks a lowly 98th in the world when it comes to tackling domestic public sector corruption. The boardrooms of the country's top companies certainly suggest that, in Egypt at least, it pays to be connected. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, London.
Let's bring you now the latest pictures coming in. Julian Assange there, the founder of WikiLeaks, walking into Belmarsh Magistrates Court in West London, where a hearing will begin today, scheduled to end tomorrow to decide on whether or not he is to be extradited from London to Sweden. What we do know the court will be looking at today are basically the technicalities of the arrest and extradition warrant, whether that's in place, and also whether or not his human rights may be violated if he is extradited from London to Sweden. The defence will be trying to make that argument that if he is sent from London to Sweden, it will open the door for the possibility of him being extradited onwards from Sweden to the US, where he could possibly face the death sentence and thereby infringe upon his human rights. Well, the Cambodian government says heavy shelling by the Thai army has caused part of the 11th century temple to collapse. Fighting over the past 4 days has forced thousands of Thai villagers to flee the disputed border region. Hundreds of Cambodians have been evacuated. Both countries lay claim to the area surrounding the temple. UN Chief Ban Ki-moon is said to be deeply concerned about the standoff and has called for maximum restraint. Japan's Prime Minister Naoto Kan has called for Russia to return 4 islands claimed by both nations. Kan was speaking at a rally in Tokyo attended by hundreds of former Japanese residents of the island chain. They're known as the Northern Territories in Japan and the Southern Kurils in Russia. Well, the dispute is expected to be discussed when Japan's foreign minister visits Moscow on Friday. A general strike in Bangladesh is paralyzing much of the country. Security forces are on a heightened state of alert. Our correspondent, Nicholas Haq, is in the capital, Dhaka.
10,000 police officers have been deployed across the country as the opposition party, the Bangladesh National Party, called for a general strike. And right now, they're shouting hartal, hartal, which means general strike. They want a total shutdown of the country, and this is following a night of riots. 10 buses have been burnt down, and the bomb was detonated inside Dhaka University, injuring 2 people. The opposition party are said to be unhappy about the rising food prices as well as the stock market prices falling. Now, later on today, share market brokers are said to join the protests, and the situation here is increasingly tense.
Well, the Green Bay Packers have their hands on the biggest prize in North American sport. The Packers won their 4th Super Bowl title after a thrilling game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Andy Richardson reports.
There's number 7, their quarterback.
2 of the sport's most storied franchises and 2 of the NFL's finest quarterbacks head-to-head for Super Bowl 45. It was Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers who started quickest. The Pittsburgh Steelers trailing by 21 points to 3 after this Greg Jennings touchdown. Rodgers would go on to throw for more than 300 yards. The Steelers stayed in touching distance, but in the 4th quarter, a 3rd touchdown pass from Rodgers, again to Jennings, looked to have made the game safe for the Packers. The Steelers responded though, Ben Roethlisberger throwing a 25-yard touchdown pass for Mike Wallace, and the Steelers were within 3 points. But a Packers field goal and a final incomplete pass from Roethlisberger
A lot of contact.
meant the title was Green Bay's. 31-25, the final score.
Green Bay will take over.
It's just a feeling of accomplishment right now, that we've accomplished our goals. We talked about it March 16th when we met for the first time, and here we are, the world champions.
It's a tough game, and there's probably a lot of what-ifs. There's a lot of throws I'd like to have back. Like I said, I don't put a blame on anybody except myself.
The Vince Lombardi Trophy, named of course after the legendary Packers coach, on its way home for the first time since 1997. Andy Richardson, Al Jazeera.
We'll have more news at the top of the hour after People and Power. Before we go, let's just leave you with these live pictures coming out of Cairo. An update there on the situation where protesters continuing to gather 2 weeks into the protest movement that's demanding the president steps down.
This is People in Power, and I'm Summer El-Shahat. On today's programme, Latvia's pulp fiction.
I think this is the limit. I mean, at some point it will have to go down because there will be a lot less wood available in the future. And you can't go on like this forever.
The Baltic nation of Latvia is blessed with some of the most beautiful forests in the world. Thousands of square kilometres of pristine woodland that support a complex biodiversity of rare animals and plants. But now, with the Latvian economy in difficulties and the country in dire need for money, those trees are being cut down at an alarming rate. Overseas demand for the timber is high, particularly in the United Kingdom, which takes more than a third of Latvia's exports. Many of the products of that trade, from furniture to wood pulp to paper, are sold in the UK under a labelling scheme run by the Forest Stewardship Council, an international NGO that certifies timber is being sustainably produced. But is that really the case? Filmmaker Glenn Ellis has been to investigate the deforestation of a European wilderness.
Last month, London hosted the first ever Baltic-Nordic Summit, which focused on trade and the environment. 9 heads of state attended, including the Latvian Prime Minister, Valdis Dombrovskis.
We want this to be the greenest part of the world. We want this to be a part of the world that